Hi guys and welcome back to the channel Health Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you've seen and want to see more. Coming up, Goulding diagnosis implications, the Giants continue recruitment, and MacManus puts forward for a World Club Challenge. Previously I'd spoke to you about Morgan Knowles commenting that he'd love to see a Penrith Panthers versus St Helens World Club Challenge game to see who is the best club side in Rugby League. That sentiment seems to have been echoed by MacManus, his chairman, but has tempered it as he knows that it will be very, very hard for it to put on. So the club are still exploring the possibility of playing the Australian Premier's Panthers in the World Club Challenge, but accepts it is logistically very difficult against the backdrop of COVID-19 restrictions. The team were denied the chance to pitting themselves against the 2020 NRL champions Melbourne Storm at the start of this year, and the clash early 2020 looks similarly challenging, shall we say. However, Saints have not given up hope of getting the game on, and there is a real appetite to see what this three-peat winning team could do on the world stage. Chairman MacManus said, "The hard reality is that it's going to be very difficult in terms of travel restrictions and quarantine. It has been a disappointment that we have not been able to test ourselves, and the last time was nearly 2 years ago against the Sydney Roosters, and on the day we could and should have beaten them, even though we were missing 3 key players on that day. It would be interesting to see how this St Helens club would do in that World Club Challenge. I think we would have been pretty confident this year, just gone against the Storm, and next year against Penrith. A pretty exciting young team who we'd love to play. It's something that we will explore, but it's going to be very difficult. I for one will be all for this game, as it's more rugby league and it's the best 2 teams that supposedly are from the season before going against each other. Yes, there are changes between the 2 squads, but that's how it goes. And this would be a perfect pre-season friendly and the backdrop to a World Club Challenge, to a season opener. Now, if the game could not be played in Australia or England, why not find a neutral country that they can both go to and play the game? Late at night time, well, it'll be the middle of the day in some cases, but have them both quarantined with fans going in. It may drum up interest in that country to play multiple games there. The World Club Challenge, use it like the UEFA do for the Super Cup. No matter what happens, it goes to Monaco to be played. Anyway, tell me what your thoughts are. Should the World Club Challenge come back this year, or should we wait until next year due to the pandemic? So it's bad news down the pipeline coming for the Rugby Football League and Super League, as former England, Wales and Scotland Rugby League players are planning to launch a group action for negligence against the Rugby Football League over their failure to protect them from the risks caused by concussion and subconcussions, it was announced today. Lawyers for the former players say they are a ticking time bomb of potentially hundreds of former rugby players who, as they reach their 40s and 50s, are developing various serious issues neurologically, such as early onset dementia, CTE, that's chronic traumatic encephalopathy, epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, and also motor neuron disease. CTE is a disease that was discovered by Dr. Bennett Omalu in the American football players such as Mike Webster, and was a subject of a 2015 movie called Concussion, which starred Will Smith. It is a cruel and progressive degenerative disease and of the brain found in people with a history of repetitive brain traumas, often athletes. The former players have alleged that, given the significant risks of serious and permanent brain damage caused by concussions and subconcussions, the RFL owe them, as individual players, a duty of care to responsible care as well for their safety by establishing and implementing rules in respect of the assessment, diagnosis and treatment of actual or suspected concussive and subconcussive injuries. One of such players involved in the action is Bobbie Gouldings, the former Great Britain legend, plus former Wales international Michael Edwards and Scotland international Jason Roach. They're a part of a test of a group of around 10 players, all under the age of 60, bringing a legal action, but their lawyer, Richard Boardman of Rylands Legal, says he represents 50 former professional rugby league players in their 20s to 50 years old, all of whom that are showing symptoms associated with neurological complications. Alongside the 100, there are 175 rugby union players Mr. Boardman represents in a separate lawsuit. Former Great Britain and England international Bobbie Gouldings, who's only 49 years old, was diagnosed with early onset dementia, probable CTE, this month. He had his diagnosis following a 17-year career, mostly spent in Super League for Wigan, Leeds, Widnes and St Helens, and Bobbie has had a well-documented issues with alcohol and drug addiction. To get the diagnosis was devastating, said Gouldings. I was a bit shook up. I've never been scared in my life, but I'm scared now. I've got a lovely family to think about, and my grandson now. He means more to me than anything, and I absolutely idolise him. And if this does go quickly, I might not get much time with him. I hope everything is going to be okay. In some ways, it's worse knowing, as it's always at the back of my mind. If you don't know about it, you can get on with your life, he said of his diagnosis. Some of the other players taking legal action against the Rugby Football League for negligence in their treatment of head injuries have struggled with dementia and their symptoms for years. Gouldings' diagnosis was a shock despite his increased forgetfulness and mood swings. Given his diminutive size also, there's an obvious comparison to be made with Rob Burrows, whose diagnosis was motor neuron disease at just the age of 37. Both have been relative pygmies in the game, have played by giants. I was 13 stone, 5'6", playing against blokes who were 6'2" and 19 stone. I don't even bother about it, Gouldings says, but it takes a toll in the end, especially if they're angry. I was knocked out cold 6 times. I've torn my biceps off my arm. I broke my leg. I've had numerous groin operations. I've split my head open. I've knocked out teeth. I've had my ankle fused last March. I remember playing on a Sunday for Lee at Huddersfield towards the end of my career in 2002. I was in Huddersfield Royal Infirmary on the Sunday night after being seriously knocked out, and I played the following Saturday against Batley. I didn't have one doctor check on me during the week. Bob, are you ready to play? They said. I said, yeah, I'll play. If you watched the video, you'd be shocked. There was another game that stuck out in Gouldings' mind after he signed for Widnes in 1992. He'd just been playing at Hull KR and he was knocked out during the game. Please be aware the next comments are going to be a graphic description on what had happened on the journey home. We were still living in Leeds at the time, so I didn't get on the team bus home. My wife drove and she pulled over on the motorway. With all my bodily functions just went right through me. She pulled over and there was shit and piss everywhere. It was horrendous and no control at all. Goulding alleges the only recognition of the dangers of concussion he received during his playing career at the beginning at Wigan in 1990 and finishing with a player coaching role at Rochdale 15 years later was a pre-season baseline cognitive assessment which he claims was completely unsupervised, thus allowing the players to cheat and make a mockery of the entire process. It was a computer test at the beginning of the season to set a template for the year, which you'd come back to if you had a head injury. But players cheated all the time, he said. You could come back and do it if you were injured and beat your previous time. It was unbelievable if that's the case for that sort of situation that they were allowed to do it. Now, one of the comments that I've heard from the lawyers in regards to what they want for the players to make sure that they came through with this is that the players are not looking for any sort of financial compensation. It is also making the game safer and getting tested and diagnosed with urgent clinical support, said sports law partner Richard Boardman. It isn't just about the financial compensation, I must stress to say, but they do have some good ideas, which I do agree with. Mr. Boardman says, the vast majority of the former players we represent love the game and don't want it to see it harmed in any way. They just want to make it safer so current and future generations don't end up like them. Younger players such as Stevie Ward, Rob Burrows, and even Sam Burgess have publicly spoken out about their own brain damage, so these issues aren't restricted to the older generations. This is why we're asking the RFL to make a number of immediate, relatively low-cost changes to save the sport, such as limited contact in training and extending the return to play following concussions. To me, that second point about limiting contact in training seems to be what the clubs are doing. They'll practice on tackle shields, tackle bags, and then have the wrestle where they're not trying to contact the head. It's just all about tying up the arms and they're on the knees and getting down to the floor. Then it's game practice, which is 90% of the time tag rugby, from my experience of watching and also playing the sports as a junior. That was a duty of care. Anything that came after that was match-based stuff. Heats of the battle. That's when the doctors and everyone should be on point. And that's why I agree with the first point that they made out for making the game better. Extending the period for head knocks. You got a head knock, off you go. Straight away. No waiting. And do you know what? The knock-on effect would be for that. If they're going head knock, they'll clean up anything, any suggestion of milking, because players won't go down. So that benefit. But if it's serious that they need a head knock assessment, they have to go off the pitch. Doesn't matter who they are. Straight away, free substitute, come back on, but they have to go off and be assessed. And it's up to the on-field doctor to make that determination, not someone that's listening to the player and saying, "Are you alright? Are you alright?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I'm alright." And then 20 minutes later, "No, I've got to go off. Got to go off." Duty of care for players. We play a tough sport with doing so much to try and make it less tough on the players for a longer period, and also to clean up the game. But we have to do the right things medically after that. And at this moment in time, we're only nibbling around the edges. Head knocked straight away off the pitch. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. So, like yesterday, I thought I'd bring you the signings of clubs, individual clubs that have made for the 2022 season. Normally at this point it would have been Catalan, but at this point there have been no incomings. We're looking at the 27th of October 2021 and they haven't signed anyone yet. Anyway, but we're going to have to miss out Catalan and we have to go to our next victims, and that is the Huddersfield Giants. I get it right, but remember, follow me on Twitter. Anyway, so Ian Watson has brought in some good players, to be fair. Some big lads for one reason or another. Let me think. Because it's going to be a bigger forward season next year for Super League. And with that, we're going to start with a big forward. And that's Nathan Mason, joining from Lee Centurions. He returns to his club that he played from 2013 to 2018, playing 33 games and scoring 4 tries. During this period though, he had numerous loans as he went out to Oldham 4 games, Batley for 2 games, Oldham for 23 games over 3 seasons, and in 2018 he went to Lee Centurions for 22 games and scored 6 tries. He made the move to London Broncos in 2019, where he played 16 games and scored 1 try. And in that period, he had a long spell at Sheffield Eagles, where he played 8 times and scored once as well. And he played last season with the Lee Centurions, getting some rave reviews. Where at one point he thought he was going to join Wigan, which didn't come to fruition, but he joined another Super League club to continue his Super League career, Huddersfield Giants. He rejoins the club after the previous spell. He is from Oldham, Greater Manchester, and like I said, a big prop forward. Next along the line, we are going to look at Louis Tolahia. Tuilaria even, the mercurial standoff for Salford, Leeds, West Tigers and New Zealand Warriors, where he has played 132 games for clubs in both hemispheres. Like I said, Salford Red Devils, being that he played 44 games in over 2 seasons, 30 on loan from Leeds even. And he scored 15 tries and 39 goals. For some reason though, it's got it down as 132 career appearances. Right, okay, that's total. Well, that's what's doing me in. 40 tries, 113 goals, and has also played for Tonga 12 times, scoring 3, kicking 3, and New Zealand once. The next signing is Chris Hill, who is going to be definitely a leader at Huddersfield. A player of over 443 games, 283 of those with Warrington Wolves, where he was captain until the end of last season, where last season it was given to ex-Wigan player, I'll see his face, his name. Anyway, I'll come back to that. That'll click in my head in a few moments. But he started his career at Lee Centurions in Top Flight Rugby League, where he played 160 games and scored 35 tries. He scored 70 tries in total during his 16 years in Rugby League, which also got him 29 England caps and 4 Great Britain caps. Jack Hughes Jack Hughes, that's what his name is. Next we have Danny Levi. Levi joins the club from playing his mostly second grade rugby league, but he's a hooker by trade. After a period of playing 83 games for the Newcastle Knights, 20 games for the Manly Seagulls, and 9 for the Brisbane Broncos. So in total 112 games, so not really second grade, but I think at the end of this season he was just gone. He was involved in that. He started, as I said, in 2013 and has played International Rugby League as well, where he played for New Zealand 4 times, the Maori All-Stars once, and Samoa once internationally, and 4 times during a nines period. Then finally, their biggest signing out this summer, I would say, as they will be looking to him to lead the team around the pitch. Sort of in Watson mould, but has been part of 3 grand final winning teams over the last 3 seasons, and that is Theo Farge. Farge started off in rugby league as a Catalans junior, but was brave enough to move over to England, where he had a junior career with Salford Red Devils. He then made his debut in 2013 for Salford, playing 66 games, scoring 20 tries and kicking 4 goals. He then went on to play 139 games for St Helens, with 38 tries from 2016 to 2021, and also played 15 times for France, scoring 4 tries. He would have been involved in the last game during the last grand final appearance, but earlier in the season he got a season-ending injury after winning the Challenge Cup in 2021. So he is well trophy laden. He's been involved in 3 grand final squads and should be another leader on the pitch. So, what's your thoughts on the Huddersfield's balance and changes to mostly their pack and halves? And what does that say about the players like Will Price, who will be left a little bit in the shadow after a good season? And that's it for another video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe and share this video worldwide, and click that notification bell for any future episodes. I also want your input in regards to the comments that the lawyer came into. Tell me about your thoughts on duty of care. Are Super League doing enough? Are the RFL doing enough? Is NRL doing enough? Our tough sport shouldn't be too tough that it affects the people playing it. Other people may think it's watered down. We have to look after our players. That's how we lose the sport. It's too tough. It was too tough, and that's why things have come in. Now that rugby league is changing, and everything's got to change. Sometimes for the short term, not as good, but for the long term, very good. Now, what's your thoughts on the other 2 parts of the video, where we have like MacManus's comments on a World Club Challenge game? Do you think it as tough as what he seems to make out, or would you just love it to be played no matter where it's played? Also, what's your thoughts on the Huddersfield Squad's changes? Are they for the better? Have they brought in the leadership? Will it affect the younger players that are in the squad? Are they growing for the better, or is it just signing for signing's sake? I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to share the video worldwide and tag people in to subscribe or whatever, just to grow our game. Get the word out there, people. In the meantime, all the best, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.